Hey y'all, it is March the 29th, I believe, 2016. And y'all, I just wanted to say it. I just wanted to say it out loud. You know, I might tell a person, but they'll get deeply disturbed. Typically, I've told people a little bit about it. They try to avoid it. Something that I think that you probably already maybe feel like, and I want to reassure you that stuff is about to go terribly wrong. I know people like us have been saying that for a while and stuff. And people say, "Oh, it never comes to fruition." First of all, things have gone terribly wrong already before, but in particular, and dealing with other things as well, but mainly, it seems like this Iran war. A lot of people out there, in fact, most people out there, I'm sure, are like, "Oh, this Iran war, I'm tired of hearing about it, and we need to do something about it, and whatever." I don't know. Let me just say that it seems as though the trajectory is not going to be deviated from necessarily. As far as the Iran war, the trajectory is currently escalation. All right, steady, and in fact, picking up. It's picking up with the escalation. All right, and it shows no sign of de-escalation. Some people might like to think, hey, on the horizon, somewhere, cool heads may prevail. And whatever, we're not going to get into too much escalation. Now, I was just listening to Alex Jones, as I tend to do, getting at the info, getting the lowdown. And people don't seem to be able to debunk the fact is that we're getting even more escalatory as far as this war. And may I suggest that in this time, and definitely for a while, and I mean, it really depends on how far you want to go back, but in this time that we're living in, and for a little while, stuff has been escalating past the point of comfortability. That is to say that ramifications from, for example, blowing up oil fields and blowing up energy sectors and this sort of warfare that's been taking place that, of course, most Americans don't know about. But it's well documented with this kind of warfare in the energy sector. Strait of Hormuz, people are talking about, but people like Michael Yan are talking about even more than just the Strait of Hormuz, although that it would be devastating, and it is already currently devastating. I want to mention that it's quite obvious to me, and I'm just chilling, all right? I want to take a moment out to say that drinking and driving is kind of fun, all right? And people might find that controversial and look at me a certain kind of way. I'm not saying that I do it. I'm not saying that I don't. What I'm saying is fun as hell, and that's why people do it. You don't want to admit that to yourself. What do you think everybody does it for? Why? Because it's fun. It's hell. That's why people don't do it because it's not fun. All right? It's a moral, because, of course, you don't want to be obviously too drunk driving around, hitting people and then not rendering aid. And I know people who have done this sort of thing, and it's goddamn terrible. All right? So, I mean, I mentioned that to say that I'm not being a fearmonger. I'm not over here being afraid. And for all the people who think it might be too scary, it is too scary for you. That's why you can't. The reality is too scary for you, but it's like, oh, you want to call me a fearmonger? I'm not afraid, all right? What I'm telling you. I mean, it is definitely concerning, but it's nothing to be done. So, the escalatory nature of, just for example, America, Israel, Iran, and this whole conflict, it's already into the future going to have shockwaves that are going to prove to be quite uncomfortable for certain. But that is really, it seems to me, only if they completely stop right now. And I'm talking about all sides of the matter. Stop what the fuck they're doing and just come to some sort of truce. That is not going to happen, all right? And a lot of people are speculating. Let me just venture a guess to say that that's not fucking going to happen. And as the conflict builds up and builds up, might I say, every moment. See, people don't know. People are completely oblivious to this, but while in their oblivion, every moment in this current time that we're at right now, and certainly every day for that matter, the repercussions get absolutely worse and worse. And past a certain point, the repercussions are going to be such that we're going to look back on these times and say, oh, that was an absolute picnic. Yes, people under 40 can't even afford to buy a house in America. Yes, already people are struggling putting groceries on credit card. In America, that's already the problem, but it seems like a picnic. In comparison, it would seem like a picnic to what we're actually going to experience because of this conflict. And it is going down. I'm not happy about it, but it's something that if I had to put my 2 cents in, I would say is that we have earned it here in America and maybe across the world. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe we fucking earned it. This oblivion that we're inviting upon ourselves. So it's like I'm not gonna enjoy it personally. I gotta admit, probably not gonna enjoy that. What's ahead, but ain't nothing I can do about it. It seems to me that most people have no clue, or they're like hopeful for no reason that things will turn around and that this and that they might hear about Iran. Oh, that'll get resolved. No, it's not. In fact, I have no reason to believe, with all the parties involved, that anything's going to do anything but escalate. Right? Major repercussions. And lastly, let me say this, and I've still never voted in my life, and that might seem irresponsible. Hey, shoot. No. Okay. All right. And I might seem irresponsible for saying that I've never voted. People probably look at me a certain kind of way and say, oh, you never voted. You're irresponsible. All right. Well, let me just say this. With that neutrality established, let me say this as I close out. Is I'm sure that people who hate the guts of Donald Trump and have hated his guts for 10 some odd years at this point. I mean, with a passion, with a vigorousness, with a dedication like I've hardly ever seen, except in Olympic athletes. A lot of those people who are still even alive, because a lot of them are really getting messed up by certain poisons and toxins, let me put it like that. Some that are alive, or the ones that are alive, a lot of them are probably looking at these former Trump supporters and saying, oh man, you got duped. You got duped, and so therefore we always knew it, and you're a fool for thinking Donald Trump would do this and that, and meanwhile he seems to be doing the opposite. You've been fooled. You've been bamboozled. A lot of people on that side, if you were to pick sides, and I think picking sides is retarded, but For those people who pick sides, they might look at people right now and say, "Oh, what about Gaza? What about Iran now? What is it? Seems like your friends and allies are getting us in all sort of stuff, and Donald Trump is stepping and fetching and just looking embarrassing. He's being embarrassed right now. In a sense, that's like accurate because he does seem to have done a 180. But in all fairness, as many Trump supporters are looking at him very sideways at this point, perhaps even most Trump supporters, I mean, maybe half or even more than that, have turned around and said, look, all this bullshit that you've been doing recently, Iran war, everything else, the stuff you've been doing recently is actually not what the fuck you said you were going to do. And therefore, we're displeased, thereby proving that, Trump wasn't actually running a cult. And if he was, well, less than the majority of his cult has turned against him and said, look, we don't like what you're doing at this point. But as I close out, let me also state that for the disenchanted former Trump supporters at this point, in all fairness, they had no other choice because none of y'all Democrats, politicians, were even trying to promise the things that Donald Trump was promising. That's the thing. If y'all were both promising those certain things and the voters went with Trump and they got bamboozled, now he's doing the opposite, that'd be one thing. But none of these Democrat politicians were promising anything outside of a Bernie Sanders to which to this day I could still say that he threw in the towel and he's a scoundrel. To this day, it seems to me like he's a grifter. What do I mean by that? Oh, you can say the right things. You can say all the right things that make people happy, Bernie, but your voting record might be a little bit different. And when it comes to the things that are truly important, yeah, you're going to say something and your voice is not going to carry no weight and the votes are still going to go the way that they are. You're grifting because you get money, popularity, and this and that. Even though you know that whatever you do, whatever you say, however your votes go, it's going to be inconsequential. It doesn't matter because you're getting whatever. You're getting paid. You're a grifter. He was a grifter, and that was the best of them. So you really can't be too harsh on these dejectors of Donald Trump or these people who have left the Donald Trump camp, because at least he was promising something that sounded pretty good, and now it seems like he's going back on it. And also, let me say this. Donald Trump, here's the thing. All right. So there's like a few different ways that this can go from here. Donald Trump could keep going the way he's going, the way it looks like he's going to go. And Israel can keep doing what it looks like the escalation that they're trying to achieve. And that's the most likely scenario what's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. In fact, it's going to get worse and worse. That seems to be the most likely. And let me say this. What if Donald Trump is playing 6D chess and stuff like that, the way people sometimes think that he is? Sometimes people attribute a smartness to him that might not exist. All right. Let's say he was playing 6D chess and he was able to somehow, some way, figure out how to pull us out of this quagmire. Because, he had a plan and he was just carrying it out. And, it was like a genius that nobody could understand until he finally imposed his will. Okay, and that's very unlikely. When you're thinking about the percentages of things, that is quite unlikely that that's going to happen at this point. Quite unlikely. But let's say that it did happen that way. And he was able to say, fooled y'all, now you got world peace and everybody's winning forever and ever. and that's not going to happen. It's very unlikely that that would happen. If that was the case, then that's bad in its own right. Even if like he ushered us into some utopia that does not look like it's going to happen, because of all his tomfoolery and stuff like that, and flim flam work and this and that, and totally reversing positions on stuff like that. And he went total anti-war, total U.S. sovereignty, totally against whatever the fuck the Fed's doing and everything else, Europe and all this bullshit that they're comporting. Let's say that he was trying to, at the last second, save the world in America. That would even still be bad, just because you're doing these covert things against the American will. It's like we don't even have no fucking clue what you're doing. For those people out there who's so like in love with democracy, oh, we're gonna vote. If we vote, we can make a change. We can make a change. You did not vote on the things that make a damn difference. All right? Have you not figured that out yet? I keep telling y'all, the elections aren't real. Real, they're not substantial. You as an American citizen, you as all the American citizens, y'all do not have the power to say we're not going to go to war with Iran just because we won't give a fuck what's happening in Iran. We have no idea who's the leader of Iran. We don't have no business in Iran. Doesn't matter. You don't vote on that. You don't get asked to vote on that. If someone goes and runs for president and says, we're definitely not getting into war with Iran, and you say, I'm going to vote for that guy, and then you vote for that guy, and then he says, guess what? War with Iran, that means you don't have no fucking choice in it. For all your democracy, it's like, so what? And this guy, he's going to, and it's not going to happen, but let's say he was going to save America. America's going down and the world's going down, all right? There's not like much time to get ready for that, but let's say Donald Trump saved the world, saved America, that would be messed up. Because we have no fucking power in all this. And people are just jerking us around, and it doesn't make no sense. We don't have no sovereignty. We don't have no like respect for ourselves. We've been taught to like be completely helpless and let's vote for this and that face, even though does not give a fuck. Like what, that doesn't make no difference what the policy is going to be, and what kind of wars people are going to get us in for no good reason, and jacking up the price of everything, which is what they're about to do. I'm going to get up out of here, but it's like, as we all go completely broke, as everybody owes everybody else in the world, as everybody, we all owe money, and then our country owes money to every other country, and all those countries owe us money, and we owe them money, and everybody's fucking broke. Like, we still have the same amount, if not more, resources on Earth. And that's pretty fucking wild, right? And I'm just over here watching it. I'm just straight chilling. While people are trying to ignore it and avoid it, you're not going to ignore or avoid anything. Your children are getting sold into bondage right now, like how the Bible talks about, into bondage, going to be slaves. Why right now? Because of what's happening that nobody even knows what's happening. Nobody even like is aware of the severity of what's going on. That's taking place. And then false flags and stuff, and everybody's going to be very surprised when it happens with these false flags. And they are going to be false flags, so I'm going to have to holler at y'all a little bit later. I'm not fear-mongering, though, by the way. I'm enjoying myself. And I wish everybody the best. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later.